Continuing now with this discussion on key trends in mobile communication. We've been talking about the revenue gap and some approaches to decreasing costs and increasing revenue for the operators. I'm talking now with Jens Zander, a professor here at KTH and scientific director at the Wireless at KTH Research Center. Jens, we've all seen these curves, very, very steep curves. It's been going on for years of growth in mobile data. Can this exponential growth go on forever?
That's a very relevant question, Kevin. This figure, the famous Cisco prediction, has been widely publicized, and it's taken for face value and everywhere. And of course, the curve looks to be exponential, but we know from nature that nothing can really grow exponentially forever. At some point, we run out of resources. It could be the frequency spectrum, it could be energy, or more likely, we're going to run out of money. It's simply too expensive to deploy all that infrastructure that can sustain all this traffic. So at some point, the curves will level out.
There's been a lot of buzz in the industry about the 5G rollout. Still a few years off, but everyone knows it's coming. Is 5G the solution to the revenue gap?
Yeah, 5G is still somewhat undefined, but it's mainly about technology. And technology is one important component to reduce the revenue gap. But it's also a different mindset, a different type of business model that is needed. So the current actors in the business cannot really go on as they do right now.
New business models, not just technology.
Yes, I can give you a very simple analogy here. If you would provide light, for instance, you can do this in several fashions. If you would provide light outdoor in a stadium or in the street, you would use the floodlight type approach and cover wide areas with high power lamps. If you would provide light indoors, you would use small lamps in every room, and nobody would dream of providing light indoor by using floodlights out on the street. But to some extent, this is what mobile operators try to do. So what I see in the near future is a world divided. We can call it something we call the coverage world. That's where the current operators live in. They provide wide area coverage, mobile data. They use industry-grade equipment, high towers, high-power transmitters. They cover wide areas. They need 24/7 availability, because if one of these stations breaks, it's a disaster. And the system complexity is very high to provide really good mobility for all these users. Then on the other side, you have the capacity world, where most of the capacity is provided. It's about consumer-grade equipment. It's low-power stuff. It's short range, and you get reliability to redundancy. And you deploy these systems where the backhaul is already installed, where most of the shopping malls or office space buildings, they already have all these wirings. And the system complexity is low. And most importantly, in this world, you probably do not charge for mobile access, something you do in the coverage world.
It sounds like you're calling for an all-of-the-above solution. New technologies like 5G, better utilization of spectrum, and completely new business models. What does this mean for the mindset of the operators?
Yeah, it's very important, because the operator has lived in a world where mobile data coverage has come at a premium price. You're willing to pay quite a lot to get coverage, and I think this still will be the fact in the future as well. You're really willing to buy an insurance to make sure that I can get access whenever I want to. But in the main capacity world, and where most of the capacity growth is, there is probably no payment. It's McDonald's, it's the office space provider that provides access, just as it provides electricity, air conditioning, or lighting. So it's a completely different world. And in the capacity world, the current operators have very difficult competing.
Now we've talked some about spectrum, and we're all used to the old traditional model of regulators auctioning off spectrum at high prices, at very high prices, and operators being willing to pay those high prices because it's such a limited resource. What can shake up that model? How can that ever change?
Well, in the coverage world, we probably see the same tendencies as today. High towers, high power transmitters, wide area cause a lot of interference, so that has to be tightly regulated. Whereas the indoor world, the capacity world, we talk about short-range communication, where basically walls stop the interference from transmitters. So you can probably use the same frequency in a different room. We find novel ways of providing spectrum, sharing spectrum with existing services. A very good example is actually the equipment that we use here for recording. It's a wireless microphone that uses the TV broadcasting band. So it's a very good example of how this very short-range device can interact with the outside world without causing interference.
All right, well, thank you very much, JensZander. And that's all for now. Thank you.